Wait, what? When I returned to the shadow stop after shopping at the store, my mother-in-law was nowhere to be found. I checked the timetable and found that the last shadow had left 5 minutes ago. As I was in despair, I received a call from my mother-in-law. Judith, the shadow. Too bad for you. You're so inconsiderate to come along on our family trip in the first place. A stranger like you should walk 4 hours to the hotel. Understood? I don't know why I couldn't fight back. I was just so shocked by the fact she hated me so much. My husband and father-in-law were supposed to join us separately. Now that the last shadow had left, I had no choice but to hike for 4 hours along the mountain road to the hotel. I was at a loss when a phone call gave me a glimpse of light. My name is Sandra. I'm 30 years old. I work at a variety shop in a shopping mall. My husband Calvin and I have been married for almost a year. Since we had dated for 3 years and had lived together for 1 year before our marriage, it has been an ordinary couple's life with no major changes. My work has been going well, and I've been promoted to manager since the beginning of this year. The number of regular customers has increased, and some of them even come to the store specifically to chat with me. From the outside, one might say that my life is smooth sailing. However, I have one headache. It's the relationship with my mother-in-law Judith. She's been horrible from the first time I met her. When I visited my in-laws upon our engagement, she looked at me and said, "You can't be the fiancé. Are you kidding me?" Her outrageous comment left my father-in-law and Kevin with their mouths hanging open. They were so shocked that their minds went totally blank. Kevin, who had come to his senses, hastily spoke up to her. "Mom, what the heck is wrong with you?" "Oh, no, sweetheart. I didn't mean anything bad. It's just that I had expected you to choose a prettier and classier girl." "Why are you being so rude? Sandra is the most wonderful woman to me." "But, if it was up to me, I'd have picked someone more suitable for you." "That's enough. I don't want to hear about it anymore. If you keep insulting her, I'll never speak to you again." His statement made her instantly turn pale. She seemed to never have thought that he was going to defend me that much. She frantically apologized to him. "I'm sorry, Calvin. I don't mean to hurt you. I just want you to be happy." "My happiness is my decision. You don't get to decide what makes me happy." "It's my bad. Don't be so mad at me. I didn't mean to upset you." "Then promise me you'll never say anything bad about Sandra ever again." "Of course, I promise I won't." She clearly agreed in front of all of us on that day. That was why I decided to let it go and move on. I hoped that we will be able to build a good relationship in the future. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Her promise was only to smooth things out with Kevin at the time. One day, about 2 months after our marriage, I suddenly received a call from her. Kevin and I didn't have a wedding, so I hadn't seen or spoken to her since that day. I hoped she wouldn't say anything strange again, and anxiously answered the phone. "Yes, hello?" Immediately she let out a loud sigh and accused me of something. "Sandra, I hear you've been carried away." "Excuse me?" "Kevin told me you're forcing him to do the housework for whatever reason." "I don't mean to impose on him." "Maybe not. He also defended you and said you both work, so you share the housework. But you know what? Housework is supposed to be a woman's responsibility. I stifled the urge to ask her which ear she was stuck in and just went along with her. Taking advantage of the fact that I didn't talk back, she threw harsh words at me one after another. He's a sweet guy, so he accepts whatever is thrown at him without saying a word. If you take advantage of him, he will surely grow tired of you someday. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. I think only he understands how he feels. How dare you? I'm his mother. Of course I know him better than anyone else. But he's never said anything like that to me. Shut up. Don't you ever talk over me. That's why people with lousy upbringing are. The memory of the day I met her came back to me, and my blood rushed to my head with great force. I barely restrained myself and continued talking calmly. Well, with all due respect, you promised that you would never say anything bad to me again, didn't you? I didn't say anything bad. I'm just saying what I think. I'm hurt enough. If you just want to make an insulting call, could you please refrain from doing so? Oh dear, that's why I didn't want him to marry a disobedient girl. She was satisfied with what she had said and hung up the phone before I could say anything back. The sound of the disconnected tone echoing in my ears increased my irritation. What the heck just happened? Did she take her time just to insult me? I couldn't get over it. I was adamant to report it to Calvin when he got home. When he did that evening, I immediately brought up the matter. He looked surprised and apologetic. Seriously, I'm sorry after all the warning I gave her. Not your fault. I can't talk back to her too. You have the right to. I'll call her now. Thanks. He took out his phone and called her right away. He was talking harshly the whole time, and I could hear Judith sobbing on the other end. After about 10 minutes of talking, he ended the call looking puzzled. I'm confused. My mom kept insisting that she didn't mean any harm. She didn't, huh? Just like the last time? I mentioned to her a while ago that I was doing the housework. Apparently that prickled her nerves. That's what she said to me too, but don't worry. I'll clear up the misunderstanding once again. I told her that it is our intention to share the chores and that you are not forcing me to do it. She said she understood. I hope so. What concerned me was her excuse that she had no bad intentions. It bothered me a lot. After that, she stopped calling me, and we only occasionally visited my in-laws. Although she didn't blatantly pick on me, she tried to intimidate me by giving me a cold shoulder, bumping into me on purpose and so on. Even after a year of marriage, her attitude was still as cold as ever, but I had gotten used to it and stopped caring about her so much. Then one day, to my surprise, my in-laws invited us on a trip. Apparently, my father-in-law Dan had always wanted to go on a family vacation, but because of the relationship between Judith and me, he wasn't able to suggest it before. Since I had been paying much less attention to her, he interpreted it as a sign that we had been on the mend. He suggested that 4 of us go on a trip to a lakeside. Of course, Calvin readily agreed, but asked what I wanted to do. I had no reason to decline the invitation. I didn't know what Judith thought about it, but I thought it might have been a good opportunity for us to get to know each other better. With such positive thinking, I gladly accepted the invitation. 1 month later, on the day of the trip, we had to take a mountain road to the destination. At the foot of the mountain, there were many sightseeing spots which I was looking forward to visiting. Calvin and Dan, on the other hand, decided to go hiking in the mountains. Since Judith and I weren't so fit, we inevitably decided to go separately. Calvin asked me if I would be okay, but I didn't suspect she would do anything to me during the trip. I assured him that I would be okay, and we parted with a smile. As I thought, Judith never harassed me after we became alone. Sandra, look at this glasswork. Isn't it so beautiful? These pastries look delicious. Let's buy some for later. I read that this variety store is famous. Since you work in the same field, you must be interested. As if our previous relationship had been a lie, she was very proactive in interacting with me. I was so pleased with her that I had a smile the whole time. To be honest, I wasn't keen on being alone with her, but it turned out to be great, and I was moved. I let my guard down without knowing what awaited me later. It was almost dusk when we finished sightseeing. We were going to make the last shadow that Judith had checked in advance. When we arrived at the shadow stop, Judith looked at her watch and muttered we still had 10 minutes. It would take almost an hour to get to the cabin going up the mountain road. I was thankful for the shuttle service. Calvin and Dan were going directly by car. While Judith and I waited for the shuttle to arrive, she apologetically asked, "Sorry to ask, Sandra, but can you go buy me a drink? I'm a little thirsty." "Sure, what would you like?" "I would like a tea, not too sweet. I'd also like some snacks." "Okay, I'll be back." I took my wallet and my phone and headed for the convenience store a short distance away. 10 minutes would have been enough time. I picked out some snacks that I thought she would have liked and paid the bill. But then when I returned to the bus stop, she was gone. Wait, what? I hurriedly checked the timetable and found that the last shuttle had left 5 minutes ago. As I was in despair, I received a call from her. "Judith, the shuttle." Her high-pitched laughter cut me off. I was bewildered, not knowing what was going on, as she triumphantly said, "Too bad for you. You're so inconsiderate to come along on our family trip in the first place." "Inconsiderate? Why did you lie about the time?" "Because you've been acting up and annoying me. You're just a stranger to me. Is that what you think of me? A stranger like you should walk 4 hours to the cabin. Understood?" I don't know why I couldn't fight back. I was just so shocked by the fact that she hated me so much. At that moment, I felt sadness and an inexpressible anger welled up inside me. How dare she? What did I do to deserve this? Fine, I'll make it to the cabin by foot. I started to walk along the mountain path with determination. As I mentioned earlier, I wasn't so fit. I'm not good at running, let alone hiking. It was extremely difficult to walk uphill for 4 hours. About an hour into the walk, my knees started to buckle. Just when I was about to give up, I received a call from Calvin. "Hey, hon, Dad and I finished hiking early. If you haven't arrived at the cabin yet, we'll pick you up." Or are you already there? I tried calling Mom, but she didn't pick up. I left her a message. Help me. Honey? Help me, please come and get me. I found myself in tears and screaming. The sun had already set, and there was only the mountain road ahead of me. My mental state had already reached its limit. I told him that Judith had left me at the shadow stop and that I was on my way on foot alone. He said he was coming right away and hung up. My phone rang again right after, and it was from Judith. I dared not answer it, but it rang incessantly. She must have read the message from Calvin that he was picking me up and called me in a hurry. She must have freaked out. I kept ignoring her calls and waited for Calvin to pick me up. Half an hour later, I was inside a car with him and Dan. I was so relieved and tears started rolling down again. Dan was already informed of what had happened and apologized to me with a bothered look. I'm so sorry, Sandra. Judith has gone way over the line. It's okay now. Thank you so much for picking me up. You must have been scared alone in the dark. Here, take this. He handed me a cup of hot tea. Thank you. It filled me with warmth. The sadness I had felt earlier was gone, and only anger toward Judith remained. When we arrived at the cabin, she came running up to me, clutching her phone. Oh, Sandra, thank God you're okay. You're safe. What? I didn't think you would miss the bus. I went ahead, but I was going to ask Calvin to pick you up. Apparently, she wanted to treat the incident as an accident, not intentional. I missed the bus by chance. That was what she was going for. Unfortunately for her, I had already told the others everything. She told me a false time and made me go to the store at the right moment. That alone was enough to convey malice. Calvin and Dan headed straight for the main building without getting their luggage out. Where are you guys going? When Judith asked, Dan replied coldly, We are leaving. I'll pay for this place, so don't you ever return to my house. Wait, stop him, Calvin. Calvin glared at her, who trembled with fear. We know you did it on purpose. I trusted you, but it was all a lie, wasn't it? Sweetheart, that's not true. It's all a misunderstanding. What did I misunderstand? You lied about the time and left Sandra behind. That's what you did, right? Always pretending it wasn't your fault. It was always you. I'm deeply disappointed. Oh, Calvin, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm not the one you should be apologizing to. I have no intention of forgiving you anyway. The father and son turned their backs to her and walked away. Then she grabbed my arm with a pleading look. She was probably trying to get me to forgive her and get on the good side with them. I shook off her hand and said firmly, Please don't touch me. I don't have the slightest intention of forgiving you. But why? I'm genuinely trying to apologize. Do you really think your apology is credible now? I will never forget what you have done to me, and I will never forgive you. I will never think of you as mother-in-law. Please never try to get in touch with me. Goodbye now. Wait a minute, Sandra. Hey. I went to join the others, leaving her sobbing. Afterward, I heard she tried to follow us home, but it was already dark and she gave up the idea. When she returned first thing in the morning, Dan had already packed her belongings and declared divorce to her. She contacted Calvin to apologize, but of course he refused. He has no intention of seeing her again. She has been cut off from her family, who have been together for many years. I wonder how she will live on her own from now on. She will probably have to face the harsh reality, but it doesn't matter to me anymore. That day, she had already ceased to exist in my mind. I can only thank Calvin and Dan for believing my words and helping me. From now on, I am going to build an even better relationship with my real, trustworthy family.